Good afternoon, Deborah. How are you today?
Hi, good afternoon. I am loving this cooler weather. Happy fall.
Happy fall. Time goes fast.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah.
So, as we were chatting, we've been doing these webinars for a few years, and we always want to make sure that the topics we're covering are relevant and useful to the employees. So, this is a shout out to all the employees to keep giving us suggestions of topics they'd like to hear us
Please.
chat about.
Mhm.
Um, but as we were talking, one subject as we're kind of going into the end of the year is, what about goal setting and what that means for individuals and how to make it not be the New Year's resolution that doesn't happen.
Right, right, right. I'm glad we're talking about this now as opposed to in January when we talk about New Year's resolutions, because I feel like that's often a setup for failure.
Mhm.
And so when I think about setting goals, I like to think about something doable and small. And so if somebody wants to, for example, run a marathon, you don't start out by running even 5 miles at first. You start out by running. When I first started running a long time ago, it was a block at a time because I could barely get through a block of running.
That's
And
what
then
I was
I,
going to say. It would be, from here to around the corner for me.
yeah, and so you start small and make it doable. And often when people will talk to me about things they want to do, I'll have them cut it in half. And but goals, I think, help give us a structure in our lives, something to work towards, an objective. Those are important things to have in our lives, and to think in a fun way. It doesn't have to be serious, or it doesn't have. It depends on what you want, what your needs are. If you have certain financial goals that you want to achieve, maybe you start out big, but then you tailor it back so that you can see a plan to get there. Um,
Achievable.
yeah.
What are your thoughts over, right, commitment to the goals, right? So is it you write it down in a notebook, you start a document, you tell a friend? Is there a best way to kind of commit to that goal? What do you think about that?
It depends on who you are, and everybody's different. So I, I, I'll often ask people, to write things out, to start a journal or writing something out. But if that's not who they are, and I actually don't do journaling, truth be told, um, but some people really thrive on that. So
Mhm.
you have to figure out who you are and what's going to work. Um, so I like the idea of writing things out because it's concrete. It gets it out of our head and makes it concrete. And then you can look at it and you can see, okay, well, this is something I can do. And then you create a plan and you write it out. How am I going to do this? Or you see, this is not realistic at all. And so you scratch it off. But if you're not somebody who writes things out, then that's not going to be your approach. Maybe you think and you walk and I don't know, but um, finding what works for the individual is what's going to work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard, especially when it comes to, maybe health, right? Diet, exercise, those sorts of things, that a accountability partner is a good
Yes,
idea.
yes, and I definitely, especially with exercise, I think it is helpful to have a partner who then you stay committed to each other and you're accountable.
Mhm.
And then you have lots of great discussions while you're walking or whatever it is you're doing. Yeah.
Exactly. I agree. So what do you think, obviously there's, lots of different areas of life that you can set goals. I'm thinking, there's financial goals, career goals, health goals, there's so many different love life goals probably, right? There's so many different social, I guess is would be a broader way to say it. Do you approach goals the same way regardless of what area of life, or are there different tactics depending on what the goal would be?
But I think of even just daily goals, so you think about what it is that I want to make sure I get done today. And
Good
so,
point.
you start present, and then you, however it is that you operate, you make it happen in that way. Um, Setting goals, having objectives, it can be a very useful um, structure to put in our lives, so that we're not just kind of floating around and then we don't feel like we accomplish anything. And I think accomplishing things is important. Helps us feel good. And
Think that's such a piece of that's a gold nugget you just gave us, because I know for me, I don't think of myself as like, oh, I don't set goals, but for sure, every day I know what I want to accomplish and I make sure I do it, whether it's my personal life or work. So I love the fact that you're saying even that is really goal setting, what you're accomplishing in any given day. How am I going to get through everything on my list,
yeah,
is helpful.
even if it's something like doing the laundry in the morning and finishing the laundry and putting it away, done, or the dishes, or whatever it is before you start your day or before you end your day. Um, and another thing to think about is having a goal of doing something for yourself that brings you joy, that brings you, something positive, something you have to look forward to. Because we get so busy in our lives, and including making goals for our careers and finances and family. How about something each day that brings you some pleasure, some joy, that makes you feel good and available then?
I love
Yeah.
I'm gonna think about mine tonight.
Yeah, 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 great. So, goals don't have to be lofty. They don't have to be, and I'm going to get a degree in something that those are good goals to have. But when we think about that, first of all, I think we want to make sure that it's realistic, that it's authentic,
Mhm.
that you choose something that's really authentic, that speaks to you, and not because your mother thinks it's a good idea or your boyfriend thinks it's a good idea, but and
Mhm.
we have all these influences that do affect us. But what is it that you want to do, especially if it's a big goal? But and then you chunk it out, you move backwards and figure out, like, in small pieces, how you're going to get there. Again, like running a marathon, you start by running a block. And then before you know it, maybe you can run 2 blocks, and then you feel a little better. And then, you build on that.
I like
Um,
your example of doing the laundry better than running a marathon.
hey, whatever works for you. That's
Exactly.
it. There's no right or wrong about it, good or bad. It's really finding what works for you.
Yeah.
And yeah. And
What's
then
going right.
sharing it too, because that can help, build support, and also inspire other people. Yeah.
Thank you. This actually was a great conversation. I think, I'm even thinking of it differently because I never thought of like accomplishing kind of the day to day as goal
Yeah.
setting. But you're right. Sometimes we have a lot of stuff coming at us in a particular day. So thinking of it in that way can make you really feel good about, at the end of the day, like, look what I got done.
Yeah. And I know, everybody out there who might be listening to this, you're very busy in your lives and this is your time of life right now. But we also work with a population that are in their 80s and 90s. And sometimes their goal is to wake up in the morning and be able to, walk to breakfast.
Hmm.
Um,
Keeping it in perspective
yeah, perspective. Yeah.
definitely changes.
Yeah. And being kind to yourself. You know?
Well, thank you as always. I do always like to end these webinars by reminding everybody that you're available for, confidential sessions. They're welcome to reach out to you. We always put your phone number and contact information on the screen, so we'll continue to do that. Thank you for being a resource for everybody.
Absolutely. And as a reminder, it's an annual thing, right? So if I work with
Correct.
last year, then next year we can re-up if you want,
Exactly.
for 3 sessions. And it always helps me if someone submits ideas that we can talk about, because I want to make it relevant and pertinent to what's going on.
Yeah, for these webinars.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll
Mhm.
remind everybody when I post it.
Yeah, great. All right.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right. Happy goal setting.
Take care.
Okay. Bye.